I'm Brad King, and this is Stories in Steel. On this episode of Stories in Steel, we take a little drive up to Twin Falls, Idaho, and have a little chat with pinstriping, painting, lettering guy extraordinaire Jeff Devey to find out what makes him tick. Check it out. I love the shop. I love being in places like this. This is my kind of place. You got race cars on one end and hot rods on the other, and I'm at home.
I'm at home too.
This is good.
Joyce calls it my toy box.
It is. This is definitely the toy box. So, man, Jeff, you've had quite the illustrious career striping and lettering. Huge fan.
Thank you.
I feel like a cheesy fanboy, but I've followed you for a long time. Let's go back. I mean, everybody kind of wants to always go back to the beginning. You know, it doesn't have to be when you were 5 years old and you were struck by lightning or anything like that. But there had to be something that inspired you to do this. I mean, you've been doing it for a long time. So what was your inspiration to do this?
You know, probably like a lot of guys. My dad was a hot rodder and a drag racer. So, I mean, a baby, I was on the racetrack sitting, I can't remember the story, but I was baby and at Lions Raceway in the bleachers. And so kind of grew up around drag racing, hot rodding, which like everybody else led into hanging out at the racetrack, seeing funny cars, seeing custom paint, going to car shows. So it all inspired you. I mean, that's inspired me.
From the very beginning.
From the beginning, you know, and then just kind of fell in love with the gold leaf, the candy, the airbrush. The funny cars were just the thing, and the top fuel lures, and, you know, the gold leaf and all the candy paint jobs. And it's like, you know, it was just kind of my passion. I just dug on it, you know, and started airbrushing t-shirts at a super young age, like a whole bunch of guys did. And of course had a friend with a race car that didn't want to pay a real sign painter to letter. Of course not. So I got to do it.
So airbrushing the t-shirts. See, that's a new one. I haven't talked to anybody that airbrushed t-shirts that actually did something with it. So did you actually do something with it?
Well, I kind of did. I actually worked for a guy named Dennis Renero, traveled to different car shows, picked me up on the weekend.
Okay, so how did that transpire? How did you get that gig?
Well, back up a little bit. I was got a t-shirt at the San Jose car show, watched a guy paint them, and I had him paint me a T-Bucket Roadster, you know, which was in the 70s, like badass. I mean, it was super cool. And so I brought the t-shirt home. My mom's like, hey, you could do that. So sold a mini bike, bought an airbrush, some paint, didn't know what the heck I was doing. T-shirt up on the wall, or a big sheet up on the wall in the garage. And I just started drawing and airbrushing, trying to learn how to use an airbrush and how to paint, and become okay at it. And was wearing a t-shirt out at Fremont and Raceway. And a guy named Dennis Renero was there painting. I was watching him. He says, hey, who did your shirt? And I said, well, I did. And he said, well, turn around. I had my name on the front, and turn around. He's like, hey, you want a job? And I'm like, okay. You don't want to take a job. And
at 15
years old, I was standing there on this side of the rope. And 10 minutes later, I'm on the other side of the rope with a work order going, holy crap, I have to paint a t-shirt.
That's so cool. Thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, thrown to the wolves. And I mean, like, you know, choking and like, holy crap, you know, this guy's really good. And, you know, I'm sure he gave me some sort of a low rent t-shirt. I don't even remember what it was, 55 Chevy or something in my head. And, you know, did that. Next thing you know, he's picking me up the next weekend. We're going to the San Francisco car show, and I'm painting t-shirts.
Wow.
Standing near 12-inch by 12-inch square for 12 hours.
That's the beginning. That's cool. That's a great beginning. So, okay, so you learned the airbrush thing. What was the first brush thing? I mean, when did you decide to pick up a brush? What brought that on?
Friend had a race car. Wanted some lettering done on it. And
get the kid for cheap.
Yeah, the kid for cheap. And remember the prism tape, rainbow tape stuff. So I'm drawing letters on the kitchen table, cutting them out with scissors. You know, stick them on the side of the car, outlining them, you know, with a brush. I mean, brushes were like terrible because I didn't know how to clean them out or condition them. And and they would just clean them out, paint thinner.
One time only brush.
Pretty much. Like, unless they working, So then just kind of fell in love with the whole craft. You know what I mean? It was fascinating to me as a young man and a young boy. And so I just started doing it. Just kind of literally threw myself at it. Bought a couple signed books on, how to letter and, way before the internet or anything like that. And followed, you'd see signs, you'd see a guy out working, I'd stop and watch him. And there was this guy named Jim Ingram who had this little red Toyota pickup with a utility box on it, and the doors would come down. He'd pounce patterns, but it was all done like a fire truck. Jim Ingram signs, all done in gold leaf, outlined, all striped, all the boxes, the doors.
Wow.
Like a fire
So it was
truck.
cool.
Oh, it was like super cool, super cool. So he was one of the guys. I got married at a really young age, got a job at a union sign shop, which was a gift because I worked underneath an Australian sign painter and another Leo, who was actually a very old. I thought he was extremely old. He probably wasn't that old. Probably he's younger than I am now. But still an old guy. He had the pipe and the sweater,
Oh, right.
But man, can that guy letter, You just watch him. Perfect doze and stuff. And so both those guys really helped me out, and I was able to just be around it. I was just the apprentice. I got hired because I had a little bit of brush skill. So next thing you know, you're up on a wall with this guy, and next thing you know, you're on a billboard, coating out boards, just all the young apprentice type stuff.
Okay. And that was kind of the beginning of the whole thing. So you're doing lettering. The lettering was what you first started with. You weren't really striping; it was lettering. You were.
No, actually, I was dabbling with a little bit of pinstriping, but mostly it was kind of lettering.
Yeah. So what? You were trying to I want to be able to cover more than one thing. So you were already doing airbrushing. Were you tying into lettering at all, or was it just you were just doing lettering and airbrushing was a separate thing at that point?
Well, I was still airbrushing some T-shirts. I actually set up a little deal and went out to Sacramento Raceway, and I would paint T-shirts out there. So now I'm probably 17, maybe. Something like that. Just kind of guessing.
Right.
And so I would paint T-shirts and then be out the drag strip, and then I was dabbling in little bit of some lettering, which next thing you know, I think I'm doing a race car, and then there was a little bit of pinstriping or a color break maybe I had to do, and and it was all terrible.
Right, of course it was.
It was terrible, terrible. And the sad part is I thought it was okay.
But see, you don't know any better.
I don't know any better.
You don't know any better. Now you look back and you go, oh, God.
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh, that's bad. That guy actually paid me like $50 for that, man. What a nice guy. So that was kind of how I really got into it,
Okay.
So worked at House of Signs in Sacramento. My son was born, and we moved to Idaho. I got a job at a sign shop here in Twin Falls. Lytle Sign's been in business at that time like 35 years. And I moved in at 21 years old as the head journeyman. The next thing I'm still lettering a sign, lettering 4x8s, gold leaf windows.
Lots of lettering. So you were even doing reverse glass? I mean, you did that stuff too?
I didn't know how to blow the glass, but I had to make the pattern.
No, I'm doing glass windows. You're talking about doing windows.
Oh, yes,
you were doing reverse
yeah,
stuff too? Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, and I'm,
that's
I'm
amazing.
21 years old.
Wow.
And now, did I know how to do a lot of this stuff? No. Did I fake my way through it? Yes. Did I sell myself? Actually, I was trying to get this job a year earlier, but there's you're 20 years old. You can't do any of this stuff.
Right.
No. So finally I bugged him enough. He said, well, come on up. We'll try you out. And then he was like, holy crap, So I had to do this like big billboard for Coca-Cola. And
grid the thing all out, and
yeah.
Or did you grid it out? Is that how you did it?
Yeah. And I'm laying this whole thing out, and I'm painting. If I remember right, it was a Coke bottle, ice cubes, and a glass, maybe pretty elaborate, all airbrushed and painted. And if I remember right, I think I did it in 12 hours. The previous one was less artwork, and it took 40 hours.
Wow.
Went out and lettered a window, one of the first jobs I ever did for him when I got there. Went and did a window downtown in Twin Falls. And I came back like an hour later, and he's like, well, what's wrong? Well, I'm done. He's like, you're done. And I said, no, I'm done. Okay, so we drive down there. He's like, wow. Well, so back to the shop we go.
I guess you're done.
He bills the lady for it. The lady doesn't want to pay the bill, because he says it's going to take like 3 hours, and your guy was only here like an hour. So I only want to pay 1/3 of it. And he's like, well, that's not how it works. So, yeah, so I worked for Lytle Signs for 3 years. I started moonlighting on the side probably right from the get-go. I had an argument with him when he hired me, and he said, you can't do any outside work. And I said, what about like pinstriping? Nope, you can't pinstripe. I said, but you don't offer pinstriping? Well, no, you're true. I said, so if I was a Western painter, could I paint signs? Or I mean, Western pictures? Yeah. And I said, but you don't offer pinstriping, so I can't. Can I pinstripe then? Yes, you can. He didn't like it, but he didn't know how to disagree with me. So hence, I had business cards that said Jeff's Graphics, because that covered pinstriping, and which had to lead to little lettering here and there. And so.
Did he ever find out?
Oh, he found out. But I knew he wouldn't. I knew that would be the end of it. You know, so I had a key to the Twin Falls truck, which was across the road. And at nighttime, I'd go over and letter trucks. And I know it's just a matter of time he's going to see one. But I was trying to build a business so that I could leave.
And he would know this. It's like, I'm not going to be able to keep this kid forever. This guy's got a game plan.
Exactly.
He knows. Nobody's dumb. They're going to go, this guy's not going to stay here.
Right.
He wants to make a name for himself. He's
on the weekends, 1 weekend a month, I'd go to Pocatello and stripe for the Chevrolet dealership. Had the key, would work all night long, all weekend, come home Sunday afternoon. Because I had this bad habit. These damn drag cars. Right. So I had to feed those and my kid and my wife and make a house payment. So it's like, okay, we've got to come up with ways to make some more money. So I went to California to visit my parents for Christmas. I came home New Year's Day, and I get there in the morning, and he calls me in the office. I'm like, ooh, I bet I know what this is going to get to. He said, did you do this truck? And I said, yes, I did. He said, I'm like, okay, here we go. He's going to fire me. He says, I can't have it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't have it? You can't moonlight. Oh, okay. So you're firing me? No, I'm not firing you, but I'm just telling you can't do it anymore, and you're not going to get your next 6-month raise, which is a quarter every 6 months, 25 cents. Right. And I'm sitting there going, how about if I just give you my 2 weeks notice? Yeah. And he said, if you're going to leave. And I'm like, really? I mean, I'll be happy to work till you. Nope, go. And the 4B computer came out, about the same time, and that replaced me basically. And I had an apprentice that I was teaching after hours, literally how to letter, how to hand letter. I mean, every night for like hour and a half every night after work.
So you got his foot in the door. You gave him the basic concept of what you got to do.
And he kind of took over from there, and I took over with Jeff's Graphics.
So is that when you opened your first shop?
Mm-hmm. I was mobile.
Okay.
And worked out of my house. Single car garage in our first starter home. And was building the Anglia at the time. And so the Anglia got rolled out to the side and stuff went in, whether it's coating boards and whatever. And that's how we did it.
Wow, that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
So, okay, so you're doing mobile. When did you decide to get a shop? It had to make a transition somewhere.
Yes, exactly. So my first little pickup was a little Dodge D50 used thing that I had. That's all I could afford. And I drove all over the valley. And I would be in Pocatello. I did work in Boise. I did work in Jerome, all over this valley, within like a 100-mile radius. But I drove a lot, so I'd get home late at night and go, I spent 3 hours today driving. And then I had a couple incidents on the job that didn't work out very well for a sign painter. Idaho's cold, dead of winter, no heat, trying to letter a truck. You got your pickup running. You're out there warming up your hands, your paint, run in, letter as fast as you can. Is it going to stick? I don't know, but I had babies that needed fed. So you get through it. I did a wall job in a deader winter once. It was the only job I had. So that's what I did. Got through it. So anyway, that kind of led to, if I had a shop, I wouldn't be burning up a vehicle. I wouldn't be spending 3 hours a day driving. And so I leased a shop. Scared me to death. Just down the street from where my shop is now.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how that whole story went. And then next thing you know, we had a computer system. We bought that. My wife would help me a little bit on that, my first wife, and kind of got that going. And then it was like, I need a helper in the shop, kind of help weed. She was still taking care of kids and back and forth going to school and stuff. And so then I hired this employee I think, if this guy can just help weed some vinyl, prep some trucks, and clean them, that would free me up. As the business kept growing, I was looking at ways to be more efficient. And so then he actually still works for the business 26 later.
That's so fun. Okay, so let's go back. You were building race cars. So did you get a bunch of racing done? Was that
Yes.
Did you actually get to work on? I know that was one of my passions. I wanted to letter and stripe race cars and do that kind of thing. Is that something you were able to do with what you were doing over here in racing also? You get your foot in the door with a bunch of racers. Was it kind of becoming something at the same time?
Yes, actually, yes. I was building quite a name for lettering race cars. So I'd go to Boise and letter race cars and do funny cars, and some of them actually Paul Stoll was painting at the time. A guy up in eastern Idaho was painting some, and I would go up there and letter and do the airbrush grill and stuff. And, in the basement, one guy had he had alcohol funny car, and I would letter the funny car in the daylight basement garage type of a deal, I guess you'd call it. Literally all night, leave Friday night after work and, run up there. I would still think that I was still working for Light of Science when I did the first one, but I would stay up there and just basically work for 20, 25 hours straight and then drive home. And then later in my life, I got the opportunity to go to California, which I've always met Eric and Reyes and become friends with him. And then met John Pugh and went down and actually worked in LA. I think it was the 94, 95 Winter Nationals, maybe. I don't know for sure. Yeah, it was somewhere in that early years. And we did, all sorts of race cars for 13 days. And everything from sanding to buffing to painting to hand lettering decals, laying gold leaf, pinstriping, airbrushing, everything. It's just what we did. It was incredible experience. Never forget it.
You guys knocked out some just look forward to going to Pomona and see what you guys were doing. I'd be looking, walking the pits looking.
Yeah, me too.
It was great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So the drag racing influence, of course, led into my lettering on commercial vehicles, on trucks. When I moved to Idaho, truck lettering was truck lettering. Block letter. Just
typical sign shop stuff.
Shadow, a city, everything was block, maybe a casual. Not much of us, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's any really scripts. Maybe a little bit, but nothing big and bold, huge on the door and big outline and big shadows, let alone airbrush. Not airbrush and lettering, changing colors like we would a race car. Right. And of course, the truckers just loved it.
same thing. I wanted to be part of that. That's what turned me on. It's like the whole race car lettering thing. Yes, followed that hugely.
Oh yeah, but there really wasn't anybody doing it on trucks,
especially in Idaho.
You know, now there was a guy that was doing the same thing and on trucks in New Jersey, Bert Quimby. You know, and he came out in Signcraft, and I'm looking at this thing going, you letter that many trucks, and those are cool.
But see, when every it's like funny you say that, because every sign guy, and it's like, I mean, you're amazing at what you do, but every sign guy goes, Bert.
I mean,
the guy's an animal. He is an animal.
An animal. Just a machine.
Cranks those things out, and they're beautiful.
I mean, back then, you know, I'd call him, it was in the early 80s, mid 80s, and talk to him on the phone. And he would send pictures out, and I would send pictures back, and Rich Dombey, and we all had photo albums, and Lane Walker, and I had photo albums of their work. They had photo albums of my work, and you would look at it, and we all just fed off of each other.
So, see, this is where the kids nowadays don't realize how easy they have with the internet, because there was no internet, and it's like, you know, you got to call the guy. He didn't have a cell phone. You had to wait till he was home, you know, or call him at his shop, and hopefully didn't interrupt him when he was, you know, in the middle of a job. It's like, hey, you got a minute? Yeah, I got a minute. Yeah. I just stopped. So, you know, you do that, and then you're having to go to Photomat or wherever, get your pictures made up. I need doubles because I don't want to send them all my pictures. Right. I just send them, you know, what stuff I want, but I'm going to keep them and get your doubles made up, and then you go throw them in an envelope with some cardboard so they don't get folded up, and throw a stamp on it. And and nobody realizes how hard it was back in the day.
And it was Christmas when it showed up in the mail. Like, well, that's it. We're not doing anything for an hour.
We're going to look at photos,
and I am looking at this. okay, that layout I have, that's getting changed. We're going to do something like this. So yeah, it was an awesome time to grow up in the industry. An amazing time.
It's great.
You know, it really wasn't computers. You know, they didn't come out, I'm trying to think when they came out, 83, 84, maybe when the little 4B was out. But till then, it wasn't. Everything was just hand-drawn. Yeah, it was a wonderful time. Just a wonderful time to be in it. And it's been, I mean, I've had a really good run. It's been a great career. Met just awesome people all over the world. I was able to share my abilities with other students. I've been fortunate to have people take classes.
So you've taught.
Yes, I have.
You've taught. Okay,
yes.
so let's cover that. So we were talking, and you've been all over the world. You've been flown.
Yes.
All over the world.
Yeah. You know, we've been in Australia. We've been in Amsterdam. We've been up in Canada, and then all over the States in different places. Whether it was a panel jam, whether it was a letterhead meet. My first class that I really remember teaching was a 2000 in Boise, and taught truck lettering. Was kind of known for my truck lettering, and I had like 35 students.
Is there any students that you stand out? You go, okay, these guys have done something.
Well, I have one.
Really?
And yeah, and this is where, you know, I'll try not to get emotional, where I feel so blessed. So I mentioned Jim Ingram.
Okay, well, tell that. Let's talk about Jim Ingram. Let's
okay, so a young guy in Sacramento, seeing his little red truck. Happened one time he was at a trying to think of, maybe it was at a truck shop. I was driving by and I saw his pickup, and then I went in there and he was actually lettering. And I just kind of stood there and watched him, and it was in awe. I mean, it was like, this is before I worked at House of Signs or anything. And I was just like, this is like cool. His truck was cool. I loved the whole idea. And then I would see lettering, it would just say Jim on the bottom, Ingram Signs. Like, wow, that's awesome. You know, and so you would just, you know, drive by wherever you saw something, and I would just pull over and take a look at it, you know, and then I would see his name. I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, so anyway, fast forward 2000. So let's say I had to back up. That would have been 79, 80, 78, 79, 80, right in that area.
Okay.
And so now we're at 2000, and I've moved to Idaho from California, and I am teaching a class. And I got like 35 people in here. We're all doing the same panel and everything. The class is all done. It went really well. The older gentleman comes up, maybe my age now, and he said, man, I just want to thank you. And I said, yeah, for what? And he's like, you know, I'm just a traditional sign painter. I've never really done the airbrush, and I've never done truck lettering like you do. I've seen your work in sign craft, and I want to take this class and everything. And he says, well, appreciate it. And he says, my name's Jim Ingram. I'm like, from Sacramento, Jim Ingram? Yeah, little red Toyota with the leaf. Yep. And I said, I got a story for you. So I tell him, you know, I follow his stuff. And so it's gone full circle, you know. So the apprentice is now teaching the master.
Lots of crying, lots of holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
What
here? I'm trying not to bawl, but yeah, well, he was teary-eyed. I was teary-eyed. He's like, you don't know whose life you touch,
right.
Who touches yours. You just act of kindness or just a regular deal. You let her in a truck, you know, maybe I'm doing stuff now and there'll be some guy go, oh, yeah, I remember this old guy named Jeff, you know. I don't know. But it's the path that we have in life, and you just follow it and do the best you can. And
I'm sure he was blown away that the guy he was going, this guy's just taught me some amazing stuff, is the guy that was following me around
yes.
when he was a little kid. It's like,
yeah, he couldn't believe
crap.
it. You're like, nah.
So did you meet him then when you were younger, or just kind of knew who he was?
I think I knew who he was, and I saw him once on a job, but I'd see his pickup, and then I would see his work.
So you know,
so I kind of knew who he was.
He was your guy.
He was my guy, and I would look at his work, and I would look at the casual, and I would look at and evaluate how he did things, you know.
So you get to teach your guy, which is cool. Everybody has a guy, and it's your guy, and you got to show your guy some stuff. That's
yeah. Mike Klein's was another one. I went to Mike's event in Northern California.
Okay.
And there's another teary-eyed damn deal. And, so I'm telling him, and he's like, he's liking all my shit, and we're talking, and we're just going back and forth there. I say, well, I got something for you. I said, I grew up in Sacramento. Well, I would go to the Sacramento Autorama, and I actually would watch you stripe. And I said, and I learned a lot from you just watching, and I wanted to be in stripe like Mike Klein. He was a killer striper. And I'm like, and he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, holy crap. He had no idea. But I don't think the average person realizes how connected we all are.
Well, there's a lot of guys that do what we do, but it's still a very small world.
Very small world.
I mean, looking, it's like, like coming up here and seeing you and seeing the stuff on the wall at your shop. And I was like, who is this guy? And this guys, I didn't know who they were. Right. And it's like, holy crap, these guys are talented. So they're everywhere. There's talent everywhere.
I don't even know a number. Is it 500 of them?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
500
more.
Out of 350 million in the United States.
Yeah.
And then we have, you try to achieve a level that we all do because we all strive to be better. And we all, the bar is raised, and so you try to get to it, and then that's a whole different level, and that becomes a pretty small group of, race car letterers per se, or maybe truck letterers. Everybody's got their niche, guys that do safes. Do I do safes? Oh, I've done a couple of them, but do I do them at that caliber? No, it's just not my deal.
Right.
You got pictorial artists, can I paint a pictorial? Yeah, but not on that level.
Right.
But it's not what I specialize in. So now you have this whole group of people. Now you get to divide it up into sections and specialties that they specialize in. And whether it's like, I don't know, like say New Jersey style truck lettering, or say striping like Todd Hansen does. And you go to the coast and you know what Mitch Kim striping looks like. But that's totally different striping than what's done in Utah.
Absolutely.
Or what's done in Southern California.
Now, would you say that was the location of where, and they inspire people, so that's what's there, or that's just who they are and they do what they do, and it just happens to be that guy's in Portland or the guy that's in Twin Falls?
I think it's a combination of both.
I'm sure you inspire lettering guys around here, guys picking a brush going, I want to be like Jeff. They know who you are.
Probably so.
Know who you are.
But, I have a Lane Walker down in Reno. We letter and stripe a lot, and we feed off each other all the time, our styles. And so we've kind of created this look out here. Todd Hansen has his look over there. Mitch Kim has his look of striping and style over there. And that's what people like. That's what they're used to. They want these thin lines because Mitch is the king.
Oh, little lines, you bet.
Yeah, he is it when it comes to striping. And just tiny and dead on and just, it's crazy.
Is there any goals that you have left that you go, you know, something, I never did this, I still want to do this?
That's a tough question.
It's a big question for the evening right there.
Yeah, it is. Nothing just comes at me, you know. I'm back into drag racing a little bit. You know, I've quit numerous times, but I'm back at it again. I have been for like 5 years. And I'm trying to become better at that. And I think it's a little easier now because I don't have as many distractions. I'm not trying to run a business anymore. I'm not trying to raise kids. I'm not trying to balance a budget per se, you know what I'm saying? So I can focus more on it. And I take it pretty seriously, but maybe not so serious, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know, I don't have to leave Thursday night and drive to Seattle all night and race all weekend and be back to work on Monday.
Right.
You know.
You can leave a couple days earlier, hang out while you're up there,
exactly,
see your friends, and then leave Monday and come home.
You know, I think that's just part of getting older. You know, you kind of mellow out and slow down a little bit. And at least you kind of should, you know.
Right.
So I've been doing that. But, you know, super blessed in my lettering and striping career. I mean, just super blessed, you know. You have your goals, you know, man, I could be on Signcraft someday. That would be awesome. You know, and you work at it. I work really hard at being better.
You've been on Signcraft a lot.
I've been blessed.
You've been in there a few times. Bunch.
Yeah.
And I know. I watched, I looked, it's like, wow, there's some cool stuff right there.
I've been very blessed. Very, very blessed. There were some lettering contests back, like Autographics, Sign Business. They all had contests. Very blessed to do well in those type of deals. Different categories, race car lettering, truck lettering, however. Those were cool. You know, I've been semi-retired. I say I'm retired. Wife says you still work, but I'm as retired.
I watched you letter 2 boats today. You're not retired.
So I'm as retired as I'm going to be. The beauty of it is I don't have to be the boss anymore. I work Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I can take time off. It's like I said, just extremely blessed. I mean, really blessed. Everything is, you know, and it's kind of crazy. It's just what I expected it to be, and I wanted to be it, and I just kept doing it and figured it out. And wasn't, you know, in my honest opinion, I mean, semi-talented, but worked really hard at it. I know a lot of guys that are a lot more talented than I am, but I just worked really, really hard at it and pretty hard on myself. When I remember lettering a pair of doors on a race car, completely done. I'm going, you know what? I think I could do better. I'm talking leaf and everything, and stripped them all off and started over.
That's awesome. To me, that's awesome.
You know,
because I think if you're not happy, that's always good. I want to strive for perfection. That's not even a lofty goal. That's how a lot of people should look at things.
Yeah.
You should always be striving for perfection.
You could just be better, you know.
Mediocrity is never acceptable. I'm just going to give the minimal amount of work and skate through life that way. And that's not a way to do it.
Yeah. And, you know, when I was mobile, and so mobile taught me, number one, to be fast. I learned to be quick. You know, you would have a truck scheduled in Burley, and you'd talk to them, we're going to letter, stripe, when I was mobile. No, I just want lettering. Pull up there, it's all lettered up. Can we pinstripe this? Sure we can. I'm supposed to be in Jerome after this 3-hour truck lettering job, and now I got to be in Jerome. So now we're going to put some pinstriping on it, make him happy, and we'll be in Jerome a little later.
Mr. Jerome's not going to be really heavy on a column. I'm going to be a little behind schedule, but I'll be there.
Well, yeah, you're out there like, I don't have a cell phone. So I'm just going to be late.
I'm going to be late.
You know, I'll be late. And I think I was blessed well enough. I just really took after trying to do the business end of it. And I think you'll agree with this. In our industry, especially previous years, pinstripers, sign painters were not the most reliable bunch. The drinking problems.
Well, a lot of them, they want to party, and that's...
Yeah, I mean, they want to party. You know, they show up a day later, you know, a week later from what they were supposed to do. And I kind of took it more as a business. and was trying to be, run it like a business. Because I think that was a downfall of a lot of guys. And I think there's not even, I think super talented people have a hard time with structure.
Just people that are really artistic struggle with.
Yeah, that's what I guess I'm saying. Very artistic people.
Very right-brain thinkers or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a great run. I mean, honestly, just an outstanding run.